transformed by the renewing of your minds. With these words and a single line, I greet you, Jamaica, the diaspora, and the world, in the powerful name of God Almighty. We have come to the end of 2022, and congratulations to my fellow Jamaicans, those in the diaspora and across the world that have made it through what I consider to be the most tumultuous year in the history of Jamaica. Never before have we seen a year when the level of gruesomeness of the murders of some of our Jamaican citizens have been like this. We are seeing a new form of criminal activities in our country. For 2022, we saw a country under attack by citizens of our very country. But congratulations to those who made it through, and best wishes for all Jamaicans for 2023. 2022 was a year when the government cherry-picked those who should go to prison, those who should be killed, and those who should be punished for their crimes. The judges seem to have joined in the melee and seems to have given a free pass to many of the top criminals in our country. The government made a lot of noise about fighting crime, but their actions suggested otherwise. They used diversion tactics in the form of the SOEs, which I think, even though the idea of an SOE is a noble idea, the execution of the idea was laughable. Aerial surveillance was missing. The proper intelligence gathering was absent. And where the intelligence was gathered, the knowledge of this intelligence was not applied to bring the perpetrators to justice. And so therefore we end up the year 2022 as the year of regret. And so it is incumbent upon every Jamaican to seek new leadership from here on. If you love your country, if you love your children, if you love your grandchildren, if you think your children deserve better than being slaughtered in the streets, if you think that you did not go to Kingston Public Hospital or the University Hospital of the West Indies or any other hospital in Jamaica to give birth to your children, to your sons especially, to be given up to gangsters, to be used by gangsters, and to be slaughtered by gangsters. If you believe that you and your children and your grandchildren deserve better than being killed by criminals, you have to seek new leadership. If you continue to run behind the present leadership and the present leading opposition, which have not brought forth a blueprint for the advancement of our country, then you can continue to run behind them and continue to bury your children and continue to bury your grandchildren. Children must bury parents. That is the order of God. But the fact that the parents and the grandparents have to be burying the children and the grandchildren, it is very worrisome. It is worrisome because who will bury you, the grandparents? Who will bury you, the parents, if your children are slaughtered in front of your eyes? And all you have worked for, according to the book of Proverbs, will go to others. And so therefore you have got to protect your legacy, you have got to protect your family lineage. And therefore you have to protect it from the criminals, the dons, the men that decide that your children are only pawns and should be slaughtered in the streets of Jamaica. You have to protect your children from the government that seems to have no plan for their advancement. You have to protect your children and grandchildren from the culture that promotes their demise in your very eyes. And so 2023 is a year that you have to turn the corner, Jamaica. You have to now begin to want your country to be a developed country, to be a better country than it has ever been. And we are a sovereign country. And one of the plans that we have that we think would work for Jamaica is to begin to print our own currency, take control of our own currency. That's number one. We have to promote the indigenousness of our country. We have different movements that are indigenous of Jamaica. We have movements in Jamaica that can promote Jamaica. The Rastafarian movement, for example, is an indigenous movement in Jamaica, and we believe that such a movement should be subsidized and uplifted by the government to promote Jamaica, because the Rastafarians have been very good ambassadors for Jamaica. Our athletes are some of the best in the world, the best that has ever been seen. Our musicians are talented. But as we touch on the topic of musicians, the debacle at Sting was an embarrassment to the world and to Jamaica. We saw a situation where what I've spoken about before, about the dancehall culture, that it embarrassed Jamaica on the global stage. And therefore we cannot restep history. We cannot go back in time. But what we can do is make sure that these things never happen again. And so the people that manage Sting, which is a global appeal event, can evaluate what went wrong and set standards, create a board of directory that direct your things and do it in a better way. The vulgarity in these events is not good for our country. The vulgarity in these events are not good examples for our young people. And so we stress patriotism even in a stage show. We stress patriotism on all levels. However, as we march towards the obvious, which is the demise of a country, we would like to divert from the course or the road that's leading to the destruction of our country. And so the people of Jamaica have got to make their minds up to save their country. We are willing to offer the kind of leadership that Jamaica needs to move forward. But the people have got to support a new movement. You look at your leaders, they look like the oppressors. They look like the people that have enslaved you for over 400 years. They have nothing about Jamaica. They have no Africanness in them. They are just men who want to stay rich off the ignorance of our population. I have stressed before, over and over, that without a vision, the people perish. And that is according to scriptures. It's not my opinion. It is the word of God. And therefore, we are calling on Jamaica. As you look around and see that your leaders hold no vision for you, they hold no hope for you. When I've spoken to many of my fellow Jamaicans, I get the impression they're hopeless. Many are penniless. Many have given up on life. And the criminals have made it no easier. The children that are slaughtered for their cell phones. The children that are slaughtered because of the whims and fancies of some of the criminal minds. We have to save the country. We have a country to save. And so the reculturing of our people is of paramount importance. The government has got to take the initiative to reculture the nation. I have spoken about handcuffing some of the men on the corners and taking them into the classrooms. Force them to learn. Force something in their head. Force them to learn. Release the handcuff after school. I have spoken about the woman who thinks she just have nothing better than becoming the next baby mother for the next fellow. We can make them into very effective social workers. I have spoken in depth about the many tragic events that are holding our country back. But it begins with leadership. Unfortunately, some of the people at the top of our leadership chain, they are corrupt as a mango full of maggots. They are like maggots in the mango. And the country knows them, the government knows them, the leaders know them. The leading political party and the leading opposition do not pack the will to uproot the people that are adding to the corruption in the country, that are promoting crimes, that are financing criminals, the judges that are paid or advised to let the criminals go. They too are holding the country back. But we have to move forward, and we have to now get into the high schools and get our youngsters educated and get them climatized to patriotism. The disbursement of the doctrine of patriotism must be effected. We have to now begin to hang some of the major criminals in public, so that the mothers, the grandmothers, the fathers, the grandfathers, the cousins, the uncles, the relatives of the victims can see justice in front of their very eyes. These men are slaughtering people across the country and are being given a free pass to get out of the country and go elsewhere to finance the demise of some of their fellow countrymen and the people in their communities. The government made a move. The Prime Minister wasted plane fare to Washington. And he said he would prosecute some of the dons that are overseas. It's yet to be seen. The Donald Lee Donaldson case, it's obvious other people were involved in the disposal of her body. A second person has not yet been arrested. And I am surprised that the country has remained so quiet on this particular case, and I have stressed in prior broadcasts that this case should be the leverage, the stepping stone to make sure this does not happen to any other Jamaican. And so, Jamaica, as you stay quiet and watch the killing and slaughtering of your people, as you stay quiet and watch your government do nothing about this, what will you do when it reaches your doorstep? Are you waiting for it to reach you? Look around at your precious children and your grandchildren. Look at them and imagine the future you want for them. It cannot be had under this government. We want a Jamaica where if a mother pass off before time, the children will never be hungry. We want a Jamaica if the father pass off before the time, the children will never be hungry. We want a Jamaica that whether the parents have money or not, their children will be properly educated. We want a Jamaica that no child should be left behind, that no child should be staying home because the parents have no lunch money. We want a Jamaica that no citizen of our country will ever go without the proper health care because they are poor. We want a Jamaica where poor, rich, and middle class get the same treatment in our public hospitals. We want the poor, the rich, and the middle class to get the same treatment in our school system. We want them to get the same treatment in our banking system. We want a Jamaica that our Jamaicans can feel safe, can know that they are cared for, can know that they are important, can know that they are part of our nation's development, regardless of their financial status. It is obvious criminals have a lot of money, and they have done so through corruption. But we have to take the incentive out of crime, and that's where the government have failed. The government have not tried to take the incentive out of crime. In fact, they have done the opposite. They have aligned themselves with some of the criminals while they are looking for the low-level criminals. The high-level criminals that are in parliaments, why aren't they removed and arrested and prosecuted? The high-level criminals in the banking sector, the insurance industry, and you name the different high-profile criminals that are known nationwide and globally that are there sitting advising your very government how to oppress you. And so it is time that we look for people that think like the people, that represent the people. You look at your leaders, they look European. You need leaders that look like you, that are acquainted with your grief, that knows the suffering, that knows the struggle. I have been there, and I can tell you, I know your pain. And so we will endeavor to push for a Jamaica that all Jamaicans, regardless of their financial status, will live and live well. God bless you. Until next time.